As a small biz pro, and so we grow, using procurement, program, and control. I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Oh yeah, I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Oh yeah, I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Business Zone
with
with
Crystal.
and Coach Gilbert Buchanan, your small business paramedic. And folks, we're going to have an amazing show today. We are going to talk to you about doing business in a foreign land. But before that, I want to talk to my co-host. Oh,
Yes. So, yes, we're going to talk about that. And a lot of this is coming as a result of the gut wrenching election
decision.
that we encountered, that we were engaged in on Tuesday. Had a lot of us thinking how it's going to affect us and what we need to do in order to protect ourselves. And it's still got to unroll. Obviously, he's the president elect. Um, I have my own theories of what has happened, but I do know that at this point, blaming anybody ain't gonna help us not have this man inaugurated in or inducted into the presidency on January 20th. So I'm looking for a blessing from heaven to keep that from happening. Because I personally, I don't know about everybody else, but I remember every encounter. I remember every day. I remember being on edge the whole entire time he was in office, and I don't want to repeat that. It was horrible. It was like torture, and so I'm looking because God is still in control, and I really hope he just comes along because he's coming with a whole lot of retaliation and a whole lot of destruction. It's going to be like a tsunami. That's a tsunami, tornado, hurricane, and a massive snowstorm all at one time, going through this country like it's got the devil chasing it, which it does. So, so
In Jamaica, we say, Jaja children never suffer. So that
yeah,
means God's children will never suffer. So,
yeah. So we gotta make that's my prayer that and I personally think there's some shenanigans that went on. It just didn't quite, the numbers don't quite work. And in my world, when I count numbers, like, okay, wait, this is not adding up.
well,
So,
what's happened in the dark will come to light.
yeah, it would come to light. So that's all my prayers. So that's all I've been doing since Tuesday since Wednesday. Is putting up prayers in the morning and prayers in the afternoon on protection and revealing because
I hear
he's
that.
still in charge. And I can't see us. I really, truly can't see us going through another experience like we did before. So we'll see. But in the meantime, we have to have some plans and some strategies in place to make sure that ourselves, our loved ones, our family members, and our businesses and our community stays intact. And so that's going to be highly important because a lot of, if you guys had tuned into us throughout the September, I think it was like we did September, August and September, we did number of shows on the Project 2025, which is their actually transitional agenda. And so we did a number of shows, and so there's some things that can be greatly affected. Before it was like, if he got in, now it's like, oh my God, he did, and now what the hell are we gonna do, right? So now we're thinking about that. But in addition to that, but today's show is all about that as well. Is okay. Some of us just, if that is the case, some of us will not be able to stay here for many reasons. Um, we may be part of the targeted people, like they're going to do the deportation. So that may be a number of our business owners that may be threatened. That may be a threat to them. Black people, I think, are really going to be threatened. So the people in the LGBTQ community is going to be threatened. Women that are seeking uh, control of their bodies and the time they want to have children and their own reproduction calendar, not somebody else's, they're going to be threatened. And so there may be people that may have. So today's show is all about that. Um, well, if you plan on taking your business abroad, what does that look like, and where should you go in order to take your business abroad? So that's what we're going to talk about today. So it should be a great conversation. And I'm still recovering. I have my moments. Um, my moments. I just stand in,
My co-host, I'm there for you, co-host.
yeah, I stand in the street and scream, man, because the vivid impressions that I get in my head is like, oh my God. And I have my moments. That's all I'm gonna tell you. Sometimes I'm upbeat and positive, and the energy's up here, and then all of a sudden it takes a dash down. Especially
So
after I,
is it gonna be like the person with Tourette's, like things will be going fine? Mama.
yeah, exactly. Which I think a lot of people are doing that. At least I'm not. I haven't uncontrollably been crying. Although there's some people that have been uncontrollably crying. So it's not that. But yeah, yeah. I'd be ready to curse folks out. Yesterday I was in fight mode, and so on the community briefing, what we
Oh,
did
how
was
did that go?
that went really well. What we did was everybody got to express. It was an open forum, and I did not stream it live yesterday.
Oh,
I
it wasn't
wanted
live.
nope. I wanted everybody to be able
The
uh,
vent and
to
just
vent
say
and
their
say whatever the
piece.
heck they wanted to say without incrimination. And so it was a good conversation. And but we have to have a strategy. And for us in the black community, we have to really look at. We have to. This is that time. We have to become one. We need each other to stay safe in this country under that regime. And so that's what we kind of talked about. So it went really well. Everybody had their say, and it was a good say. And uh, and then there were some individuals that actually worked in politics, so and have been involved in politics and um, helping uh, develop people to run for political uh, 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 run for different offices. And so her name is Joy Atkinson, and she's been her organization's been around for a number of years, and so she was a real value to it. And then we had a couple other people on that was able to help out as well to give us
So, are you
insight.
gonna
So,
post it or no?
yeah, it will be.
An edited version.
Yeah, it's gonna be an edited version. It will probably be clips of some pointed statements that were made.
That's
Um,
cool.
yeah, so that I'll do it that way, but it's not gonna be totally published out there because we were able to say what we need to say. It helped us feel better.
I hear that, man.
Because there are many of us that's struggling. We really having a hard time with some of this stuff. It's first of all, she in the short period of time that she had to run the 100 days, I think she put it all out on the table. And I think there are organizations that were working to get people uh, out to vote. I think they did an excellent job, especially in the black community. They hit every college, every HBC, every kind of college. Every state that they were in, they had a whole lot of boots on the ground, and so it was a very collective effort that everybody did what they had to do, and so based upon what you had to work with. And so that's what I think. So yeah, so it was gut wrenching because everybody just felt it. They just felt that she was going to that it was going to happen. So again, when you look at what happened earlier on, and I didn't watch it. When I first turned it on around 6:30, I'm like, "What? Something's happening here," because it just didn't make any sense that early on, and I cannot believe that. And if it is that case, that he got that many of the popular votes, and if that's the case, then America is doomed.
I hear that. That means small businesses will need to galvanize, come together, do some stuff, and that's a big reason why we're talking today about doing business abroad. And we really need to expand our reach. Right now we're doing business in our community, in our city, our county, in our state. We need to expand our reach. Do business in all the states as well as in other countries. So today we're going to look at, some territories that many small businesses can consider doing business in, and look at requirements and those types of things. So we're going to have a fun time today, but in the meantime, co-host, did you want to go to the subscribe button and explain to folks why
I
it's
did. And
important for
before we
them to
get started,
subscribe?
I'm going, yeah, I do. And then before we get started, I actually, to kick it kind of off, because I don't have any other visuals happening here, I do have a little quick, a little quick video that talks about why international business. And so when I get done with this, so, oh, come on. All right. So, in order we are our show actually broadcasts live every week on our many of our social medias, but YouTube is one of our sites that is our channel. So we are asking you guys to go over to our channel, hit that subscribe button, and become a subscriber of the Business Zone. We are very proud. We're very proud to be on the air for 8 years. This is our 8th year. And I think we do bring very quality content. And so we'd love for you to do that. We have over 800 videos are archived on our channel. And so you can find pretty much any topic about business on that channel. So wherever you are in your business development and your business, in the growth of your business, you can find something over there that will be helpful for you. So hit that subscribe button, and we'd love you to join our family. And while you're at it, go watch some of our other shows, and then hit the like button on as well. So that's pretty much it for me. And Gilbert, how was your week? How did you handle?
Oh man, I've just been super busy trying to help my Texas client because they're closing out on their contract. So this is their
Mm,
final certified payroll that I'm doing for them. So I have to be going through all kinds of paperwork, making sure everything, all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted. So so that's where we're at on that. We're still on the Metro AMC project at the airport.
no,
So
okay,
that one is still going, and let's see. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
okay, okay. Well,
So I
then you
just
had.
kept myself, pretty engaged and busy. Some things I remember, some things I don't.
Yeah, I was super busy too, but I remembered all of it. So anyway, okay, so guys, we're going to share for some of you, and again, this is part of your game plan. Everybody should have a game plan. Everybody should have one should have a strategy, no matter what it is, to make
Yeah,
sure that you can survive, your businesses can survive, you can continually to generate revenue for your family, to take care of all that your needs. We had a setback during the pandemic, and a lot of us are just now recovering, and so it would just be a shame if we found ourselves back in that back in that crisis mode, and who knows how long it will take for us to recover again, and even if we will recover, that's a question as well. So um, the other one. So that's what we want to do. But so now, the name of our show today is Taking Your U.S. Business Abroad. So we're going to look at
That's
a
right.
number of countries that provide um, that we can actually go abroad, expanding our business internationally. But however, choosing the right country depends on factors like market demand, regulatory environment, economic stability, and cultural compatibility. And so some of the countries that we chose are very close to proximity to what we're used to in the country that we live in. And then there's some others that are outside of that. So, and then we're going to cover some pros and cons of doing that. I am going to show a video in a few minutes that's going to do give us a little overage to kind of get us into it, and then from there we're going to take it. We're going to take it from there. So, first things first, international business. So let's share. And then let me, okay, here we go. Oh, why is he not doing?
International business. Isn't doing business pretty much the same regardless of where it is conducted? Sure, I may have to get someone to translate for me or change money at the bank, but a transaction is a transaction, and people have been transacting across borders for centuries. Moreover, you may have vacationed, done volunteer work, or even been an exchange student in another country. You recognize that there are differences, but how does that really hinder me from doing business? After all, we are all human, and for the most part, we all must produce and consume to stay alive. Besides, how different can international business be from domestic business? Well, it turns out that international business is often quite different from doing business in your home country. International business is technically defined as all commercial transactions, including sales, investments, and transportation that take place between two or more countries. In other words, it is the act of doing business across national borders. The reality is that when you cross national borders, many of the taken for granted assumptions about the way the business world works need to be re-examined. Take opening up a restaurant in the United States, for example. When you do business in the U.S., there are many external factors that are fairly consistent across companies and even industries. You assume that you can pay your employees what you want, as long as you don't go below the minimum wage, and meet other basic work requirements, all of which are readily available. You can assume that these requirements will not change much over time. You can also assume that the government will not mind if you open up another restaurant. As long as you get a business permit and a food license, you're good to go. You also correctly assume that you will be able to either buy or rent a building for your restaurant, and that you can choose the location. You can search on your own or through a realtor, and you'll be able to negotiate the price. You are also fairly familiar with the local tastes and preferences, so you have an idea of what foods people will like. Essentially, they like what you like. You assume that the US dollar will hold its value and that people will be able to pay with cash or credit cards. You assume that you will not be asked for bribes to open or continue with your business, and that you will not need to pay protection money to organized crime leaders in your area. Finally, you assume that you will be able to use social media and the internet to advertise and offer online reservations. Most of these assumptions may sound pretty silly. Of course I'll be able to choose the location of my restaurant. Of course the US dollar will be an acceptable form of currency. But when you do business internationally, all of these assumptions need to be questioned and modified to address the realities of a global environment. In an international setting, things that were just assumptions can no longer be taken for granted and become paramount to your success. These differences across nations could be as stark as the differences one might find in doing business across planets. While you may have thought about international business before, you've probably never thought about interplanetary business. Yet, believe it or not, some people have, and they are not all Jedi or Trekkies. PayPal, for example, has a galactic initiative to figure out what future space travelers would use as cash. They admit that this would not be a reality anytime soon, but nonetheless, they want to be ready when space tourism and other out-of-this-world opportunities begin to take off. While we still haven't found intelligent life on other planets, you can imagine that if we did, there would be plenty of people wanting to do business with them. These foreign planets would represent untapped markets for your products and services. For instance, let's say you are a successful watchmaker and that your watches are sold all over planet Earth. If it were a possibility, there are 3 main reasons why you might want to start selling beyond Earth. First, you have been doing well, but because there are no new areas to expand, your business is not growing. However, one day in your intergalactic travels, you find a planet whose inhabitant lifeforms, or as you like to call them, aliens. They tell time using pocket watches, but no one uses wristwatches. Part of the reason could be that they don't really have wrists that are smaller than their hands. The idea of putting something on their wrist only to fall off every time they put their arm down seems rather absurd. However, you see a potential growth opportunity. While the exact watches you produce may not be suitable for this population, you realize that with some slight modifications using the incredibly advanced technology of spandex that you already use in some of your watches on Earth, the watches could stay attached to the aliens' wrists. If you are successful in entering this planet's market, as well as atmosphere, then you might be able to grow your sales. This would be much easier than trying to get the humans on Earth to switch from their existing watch brands to yours. So increased sales is a major motive for expanding into interplanetary markets. Second, while spandex is super cool and super advanced, you may find that the foreign planet in which you are trying to expand has technological advances that not only allow them to make spandex much more cheaply, but to do so in a way that creates less environmental waste. This is good news to you for two reasons. One, you will now be less of a contributor to depleting your own planet's ozone layer and subject to lower carbon taxes. Two, you will now be able to decrease the overall cost of producing watches, both for the new planet and for the planet Earth. In addition, you may find that by interacting and working with the aliens, you are able to glean some new insights on spandex bands for the Earth market. So the ability to acquire resources and knowledge from the foreign planet would act as a second major motive for expanding into interplanetary markets.
Okay, so we're going to stop it right there. And I think that is a good way for us to just start to move forward on our what we found. So again, that little video clip kind of gave us the insight of why we want to do that: increase sales, um, 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 positioning yourself in a new marketplace, maybe having to create some new products to be able to market to that particular marketplace. So that would be the same concept and theory here, is making sure that the country that you want to expand to actually fits the product and the services that you are going to participate in. And just like the basics for any business are, hey, Martian beef patties. Hey, Greg. Like any other, like here, if you were going to start a business in the United States, you would be in the US, you would actually be looking at a target market of people that need that you are solving a certain problem or challenge that they have, and you have the best solution for that. So it would be the exact same in a foreign country as it would be here. The only thing is you have to understand what are their particulars in their needs, which could be definitely different than from ours. So Gilbert has comprised, we have a pretty extensive list, but Gilbert has comprised one for professional services, which quite a few of our colleagues provide for it for their businesses. And then I have some others that are out there just for overall opportunities that may be available to you. So Gilbert, you want to go ahead with, you're on mute though.
I was ready to go, man. So we looked at some opportunities because a lot of small businesses have expressed interest from time to time about doing business in other states, in other countries, other regions. And we figure more or less we'll try to help facilitate that process for them by looking at some of those countries and see what is it, how feasible it is to do business there, and what are the possibilities of some types of service offerings that they're looking for. So we came up with some, and some of those service offerings are germane to certain types of countries. So we've got a short list here. My co-host and I, we compiled some list. So we're going to touch on the countries first, and then we'll look at some of the service offerings that you, as a small business, small or micro business, can provide them, and that will help to increase your revenue. So let me take a look real quickly here. Uh, you won't be able to see my list because my presentation is not as fancy smancy like my co-host. My co-host, she's got the PowerPoint thingy going there, so I don't
Yeah, I don't
have
have a PowerPoint today, but you guys gonna take us at our word here. But our very first one on the list is Canada, so which is
yes.
right up above us, and it has, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about, the ones that have close proximity to where we are. So and that traveling to, if you have to be there in the physical, is really just a several hour flight to those particular this particular country. But for Canada, actually, it's only a 3-4 hour flight. You can fly into straight into Vancouver, or if you're on the west coast, or now if you go to the east coast to Toronto and the Montreal states and so forth, there could be some differences because that's a more French um, provinces there, and so you would have to be able to fit into that culture. But on the West Coast, if you guys have businesses that are on the West Coast, Canada in Vancouver is absolutely magnificent place to be in the summer, extremely cold in the winter. So if you're a skier and outdoor person, then you would love it. But anyway, you from Los Angeles, which is where we're located, we'd fly right on into Vancouver. Or if you had to have a stop, you stop over in Washington, and then you fly on in to Canada. And so it has multiple time zones and has major cities that you can do business in, Toronto, Vancouver, Calgary, and they're typically about a 6 hour flight from various U.S. states. And English is their one of the two official languages, and it's widely used in business. And their other language would be French. And so, and their cultures are very similar to ours. They do have a very strong trade. We do. The U.S. has a very strong trade relationships with Canada, and is an attractive and low risk expansion option for U.S. businesses.
And definitely, we wanted to identify some countries that they're English speaking, because since most of our entrepreneurs are English speakers, we wanted to see if we can tap into that. Now, the next country on our list is the Bahamas, and the Bahamas is close to Florida. Uh, Heavy English speaking, and as you know, it's also a U.S. territory to some extent. So that's an area that many entrepreneurs could look into doing business. Now, after we list some of these countries, we're going to go into some of the service offerings that could match what small businesses in those countries are seeking from other entrepreneurs from here in the US. So the Bahamas is one that you can jump in your private jet and
Well, it's
fly
actually
over
about an hour from. It's about an hour
from JFK.
from if you're in Florida, it's about an hour away, about
Oh,
45
okay.
minutes. It's like Cuba is about 45 minutes as
Yeah.
well. From us, it's a little bit further because that's a 5 hour flight to the other side of the country. Bahamas actually are very. They have a growing a business environment in tourism and finance. So I've been to the Bahamas, and it's a beautiful country. They do have a lot of tourism there. So if you have a business that can augment that, there's lots of jewelry there. The actual cruise industry, both Royal Caribbean and as well as Carnival, they all travel into the Bahamas. They have tours that go into there, and so there's some opportunities there. And then you would actually have a large number of both U.S. citizens and many foreign individuals that love cruising, and so there's a whole population for that. So that could be a great place as well, as Gilbert said. There should be an ease of doing business there. Canada as well is a for those of us on the West Coast is a real easy migration, and they do have they minor minimal trade barriers and competitive regulations for U.S. businesses. So that's something to think about. And they have a strong purchasing power. So when you're looking at where you're going to go, these are some of the factors that you're looking for, right? You don't want to go to a country that is starving and poverty ridden, and the opportunities are very limited, and they have a very restrictive government that may hinder the whole process for you.
Yeah. And that's some of the things that you may want to consider when you're thinking about doing business with a certain country. The reason we chose these countries, guys, is because it's no more than 6 hour flight if you got to jump on your if you got to jump on a commercial airline. It's about 6 hours. Jump in your private jet may take you 45 minutes or so, right, to get there. But these are areas you want to, look at doing business in. You don't necessarily have to do business in your community, your city, your state. It's time for us to start doing business outside of our playpen, and that's why we're choosing this topic today and choosing these types of countries which provide that type of service. Now, my co-host mentioned a few services like tourism and other things like finance. Now, finance, there's a whole lot of different uh, areas, components to finance that you can do. If you're an accounting business, doing accounting, bookkeeping services, that could be something you want to look at. If you're providing financial services, that could be something. Investments, that could be something. And even when you look at tourism and you look at the cruise ships, there's so many different service offerings you can offer to businesses that interface with tourism from a cruise ship standpoint. So that's something that you may want to think about as an entrepreneur. And then the third country, of course, is mi país, Jamaica. That's where I'm from, guys, and that's my homeland right there. So of course, it's one of the smaller Caribbean islands, but it's the most dominant in the Caribbean. So it's a place where you can conduct a lot of business. English is the number one language. I'm sure a lot of people wouldn't believe that, but English is the number one language. And again, right here, it's our notes are saying it's about 2 to 3 hour flight from the U.S. It's about 5 hour flight, guys. If you're going from JFK, from Florida, it might be a little less than 5 hours, but it's around about that time frame. And it says 2 to 3 hours from the East Coast, but I know from JFK when we did that our trip, it was about 5 hours. So Jamaica is a place. Again, tourism is one of their primary resource, but there are other type of resources that you can look at in terms of training and development. You're looking at consulting services, marketing, all of those different areas. You'd be surprised, guys. I've done business with some American companies, like some software companies, and
Mm.
even Amazon, and they're using resources from Jamaica. They're using customer service reps from Jamaica to provide services. So, again, if you're looking for uh, virtual assistant services, those types of things, you could get that from Jamaica and other countries. Barbados is the next one. Co-host, you want to tell them a little bit about
Yeah, so that's
Barbados?
slightly further down. It is a Barbados is another English speaking country a region that's close to the East Coast and generally within a 2 hour flight from places like New York City. So a lot of people go from the north, getting out of the cold weather. They will go to the islands, and this is the Caribbean islands. Um, and so they're very beautiful places. I've been to Barbados as well. And again, tourism is a big thing. And as I said, all the cruise ships actually go through there. So lots of opportunities for you. Um, it is actually, I think a lot of these, I'm not sure about, uh, Bahamas has an influence of the Dutch. Barbados, I think, has an influence of the British.
Yeah.
Um, so,
So
um,
does Jamaica.
so does Jamaica. And I believe they were territories for the Great Britain, weren't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think a
So
lot.
so just to give you a little history lesson, guys, back in the 14th and 15th century, a group of dominant countries came together and they decided to divide up the world. And I think they divided in five or six categories. So you had England or Britain. You had England. You've got Holland. You've got Portugal, Spain, France, and there's another one I can't think of right now. But all of those five or six nations, this they came together. They had a meeting, just like many of our dominant big businesses, like
Hmm.
the auto industry or the banking industry, the cable industry. They come together and they said, "Hey, what if we decide to get together and divide up this the world, certain parts of the world, and we take some of the countries and we have them influenced by our language, our culture, our custom. Wouldn't that be wonderful?" And they all said, "Yeah, that sounds like a great idea." And during that time was the height of the intercontinental slave trade. So it was beautiful for them. That was like a money making machine. So that's why they decided to do that. So then you got England that control a lot of the Caribbean nations. You had France, Spain, Portugal, and that's why many of these countries, the language they speak is similar to those bigger countries. So Jamaica, Barbados, Bermuda, Trinidad, Tobago, all of those, they have that English influence. Then you've got other countries like Martinique and others, that's French.
Hmm.
You've got like
You got American country is St. John's or the Virgin Islands. They're
yeah,
all out there as well.
right.
Um, yeah, so that's actually American territory. So Puerto Rico are again American territory. So some of those you could do business in.
Oh yeah.
In fact, when I was in St. John and in the Virgin Islands, there was a young lady. She was from New York. She spent 6 months in New York and
Uh-huh.
6 months in Virgin Islands. She had a tourist business in
Hmm.
and tourist shop in during the tourist season, and
Yeah.
then she would go back home to her country when it was to America to New York or her city when it was warm. So
Yeah.
she kind of alternated the winter seasons in various places. She absolutely loved it. There was a number of people that I met that actually had two. They were doing business in both in their state in wherever they came from, where they were born and raised, and then they loved the island, so they did that. And as you can see for the map, guys, we targeted a couple of countries, but there is actually some other resources and opportunities that are there. Maybe not Venezuela because they got no economy right now, but you could see that in that little, and you can't do Cuba because it's a communist country,
It's just
but
not allowed.
it's just not.
It's
However,
just
if you don't have a U.S. passport and you're not a U.S. citizen, but you have a dual passport and you're from another country like
Like Jamaica,
Jamaica or somewhere,
Panama.
or Panama or China or anything. They actually are doing business in
Yeah,
Cuba. It's
yeah,
just
you could
not.
do business in Cuba if you're from those nations.
Yeah, but you're just not from the U.S. So if you
Right,
have a dual passport from another country, then you actually have that opportunity to do business there. So you got some choices there when we're looking at some alternate opportunities for ourselves.
right.
Yeah, so that gives you that, and then it's beautiful down there. I don't know how many of you have actually been there, but the weather and the I think there's a picture, no pictures, but it's absolutely gorgeous in that area. So,
Oh
and
yeah,
there you have that. So if you're looking for a place, as Gilbert is looking for a place to mellow out and relax and not and live a relaxed beach life,
make
then
some
that
money
go
in the
islands
process.
and make some money while you're in the process. That would be awesome,
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Then we
huh?
got the next one is Trinidad and Tobago. You
Yes.
want to talk about
Yeah,
that
so
one,
that's further
co-host?
south in the Caribbean. It's accessible from the U.S. English is definitely the second language. Um, one of our actresses married she married I think he was royalty in
In
Tobago.
Trinidad.
Yeah, in Trinidad and Tobago, but I don't think it lasted. So but she went there, and it's also another beautiful country. That I haven't been to Trinidad and
Yeah,
Tobago yet.
I haven't been there, but a lot of these countries, these Caribbean countries, are Jamaican influence because,
Oh, okay.
like I say, Jamaica is the most dominant country in the Caribbean. Even though it's smaller than Trinidad, Trinidad is about 3.5 times the size of Jamaica. But Trinidad has oil. They've got oil. They're the largest oil producing company in the Caribbean. So they say who has the gold is king, right? So who,
Mhm.
who has the oil is king. So Trinidad feel like they're king in the Caribbean, because they got oil. So a lot of American companies, they do business down in Trinidad. Even British companies, they do business there too, because they got oil, they got other things too,
Yeah,
natural
natural. They have
resources.
natural resources, and so sometimes that's a good driver as well. Is what are the country's natural resources that you may have a business that can augment that, right?
Yeah,
So very very important. Um, and so those are the ones that in closest proximity to us.
yeah,
But then we have some that are a little bit further away, but definitely have some of the similar culture or they speak English. So you have the United Kingdom, and
yeah.
so it's pretty business friendly. We have a number of individuals from Canada and the UK are probably for the non-Hispanic immigrants or
Yeah,
impact. Those This is probably the two countries that have the most here in the United States. So
yeah,
the UK is pretty business friendly regulations, and a lot of companies here in the United States do have business here and also the UK. So it's like it's an already established low trade barrier. They have similar legal structures, so you don't have to do anything too much different
right.
than what you would be doing here with the structure of your business. Um, the one advantage to doing business in the UK, you have access to Europe because it's just a train ride away, right? So
Exactly.
you it's not part of the EU, but the UK still has very strong trade ties with
Yeah.
the European countries, allowing for potential further expansion for your business. So that's not a bad thing.
And
If you know
their currency is stronger than our currency, is stronger than
there's
the US currency,
yeah,
the pound.
they use the euro, yeah, the pound and the euro. Um, they're English speaking and they're compatible. They're British there, so
And they do a lot of the services that we provide here. Consulting, you got manufacturing, you've got, marketing, all types of services, strategic planning, all of those things, food service. So it's a replica of the US, but with a little different flavor.
with a different little flavor to it. And you have, and it's very multicultural.
Yes, it is.
So it's like a melting pot. It's like being in New York.
Yeah.
You get to see numerous ethnicities, so you don't feel like you will be sticking out. You have a number of expats from Africa. You have expats from Europe. You have expats from Jamaica, the islands, because a
Hmm.
lot of them, the British, they're subjects or were subjects
Yeah.
of the Great Britain, and so you could feel more comfortable there. South Africans go there, Italians, everybody's there. So
I
it
believe
depending,
I believe three nationalities are the strongest in the UK right now. You got Jamaicans, you got the Nigerians, and you got the Indians from India.
yeah, that those are three. Yeah, you have and you have Pakistanis, and which is
Yeah,
all kind of that same Asian component. So that could give you a broader
exactly.
opportunity and expansion. So when we're thinking about moving or taking our business over abroad, what are all of our opportunities? You definitely have to do your research
Yeah.
to make sure that it is a feasible opportunity when you get there. But don't leave anything to, don't base it on realities, not on some imaginary concept that you may have. You got to really do your research to make sure that it will work. But if you're, say, of an ethnicity and you want to go to a country that feels comfortable to you, that is an opportunity for you.
And some of the other nations that we found useful, would be Ireland, and then you've got parts of Western Europe, other European nations, and even South Africa. A lot of people don't think about South Africa as a place of conducting business, but South Africa, from what we found out, my co-host, she took a trip down to South Africa, I think it was last year, and she found out a lot about that nation that provide some level of synergy with us here. And she established a relationship with some folks over there. So we had them on the business zone, and they were a guest, and we talked about how some of our programs could be congruent with what they're doing. And one of that was training and development, professional training and development. So we provide entrepreneurship training to some of their folks. Um, uh, Crystal did. Crystal runs a program here right now. It's called a Biz Camp, where she teaches young entrepreneurs how to become business owners, how to become successful in their business efforts. And as a matter of fact, every year she does this national competition with entrepreneurs for the kids, and she every year she wins first, second, or third place, man. And this is out of a pool of about 500 to 600 participants. And my co-host, her students are the ones who usually come in first, second, and third. So folks are saying, "Hey, this is rigged. How come these kids are always winning? What are you guys doing over there?"
Well, the reason my kids win is because we happen to be entrepreneurs and the others are educators. So it's a little bit different because
That's good.
we're living the true life, and
Yes.
so we teach from our experience and not from the book. And so they never asked me if it's rigged. They just asked me how, and I was like, I'm an entrepreneur, and they're like, oh, okay, I got it. So that's no rigging. But if you're going to do business in South Africa, there are a couple of things to know about. They do have a kind of sketchy political system. They're still working on it. I think they're making some headways a little bit. But I do have friends I have friends that I have a friend from South Africa, and so that's how I got there for an event. But her husband does business in South Africa, so the business capital for South Africa's Johannesburg, and
Yeah.
it is the leading South Africa's leading financial city. And although it was founded on wealth that came from mining, the mining industry has now become overtaken by services and manufacturing. So the country has a bulging demand for goods and services. 50% of all goods arriving at Cape Town and Durban are made their way from Joburg. So you have Durban, which is a port. And so if you have any businesses that are export related industries, Durban Band is an attractive offering for you. Very popular. It's subtropical climate and endless stretches of beach. So a little bit, you have strong manufacturing, tourism, transportation, and government sectors. So that gives you a broad spectrum to do. Now, South Africa is at the very end of the African coast,
That the
and
tip.
so it's at the tip, just about at it's not the Cape Town is actually at the tip. Joburg is a little bit further up on the east side of it, but Cape Town is another amazingly beautiful place, and it's on the water as well. And so that one, I believe there's mining, there's a lot of cities there. But you would be traveling to get there about 27 hours because that's
Wow.
what it takes. But it's a very beautiful city. Cape Town has quite a bit of um, tourism, but there is a thriving. It looks like South Beach. It looks like Malibu. It looks like any city that's on the coastline in the United States. It looks like that. They're pretty modern. Um, I would say in this country, it's got an interesting history. If you're doing business with the Black people, there are two types of people there: Black people and their colored people, which is usually the Indian type people. So you would have to, it's got some cultural differences there.
So
And
understand the culture, right?
you have to understand the culture. They have many foreign embassies there and diplomatic missions, and so it's Pretoria is one of the main commercial industries. They do steel and ironworks and copper casting and the manufacturing and sale of automobiles, heavy machinery, and railway carriages. So it's really one of the most very modern, and so it could be a great business place to
So
do
it's a
business.
strong blue collar
It's a strong blue
environment.
collar.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And speaking of manufacturing, folks, since my co-host is telling you that the manufacturing is very strong and powerful there in South Africa, but also my co-host learned from speaking with her associates that they also have a big power and utility problem. So a certain day of the week, maybe Tuesday, they have power outages for a
No, they have
long
power
period of
outages
time.
every day.
Oh, every day. See,
Every day.
every day they have power outages, guys. And the power is out for a long period of time. Anywhere from 4 to 6 to 8 hours. They're out of power. Now, for you entrepreneurs or thinking manufacturing or distribution, this could be a great business opportunity for you guys because power generators would be a great product offering to that marketplace. Those power standby generators, when the power goes out, it kicks in automatically and it
Hmm.
powers up. That would be a good thing for some of you entrepreneurs to think about. Whether you want to establish a system where you ship it over there or somehow they could obtain or purchase it from you at a certain price because those generators are manufactured here in the US. There are multiple generator plants here in the US. So that would be a good thing for you to look at, do some price shopping and comparisons, and see what, because they do sell power generators in South Africa as well, but the price may be super high. So that's an opportunity for you guys to look at, guys.
Yeah, it definitely is. Now there is the U.S. dollar is to their rand is $17, but that's been consistent. I was there 2 years ago, and that's the same that it was about the time I was there. So every $1 is valued at $17 there. So that gives you some more a little extra if you're going there. But it is a beautiful, and there are a number of places that you could go to do that. And tourism is big, agriculture is big there, but it is a very um, wealthy part of the African continent,
Right.
Joburg and Cape Town, and the wealth is wealth, and the poor is poor. So it is definitely there. So again, and if you're, a person, a black person or a person of color, you'd feel very comfortable in that environment because there are people there that look just like you, and so that would work. But
And
there's the Dutch. The Dutch is actually who invaded their country. So there's a
so they
again a
have
very
multi ethnicities there, huh?
multi ethnicity. So you could feel comfortable there if that was what you wanted to do. And then there's some countries that you have Germany, you have Australia. Again, these are English is spoken in these. Most European countries and most other countries, with the exception of our country, are multilingual. We're the only one that are not multilingual, which kind
Mm-mm-mm.
of limits us because
Right.
if you can speak English, you can speak Spanish, you can speak French, you can speak the common languages that even if you're in the Middle East, if you speak French, they early settling they had French speaking schools there, so a lot of them speak English, French, and Arabic. That's what they speak in those countries. And in South Africa, they're speaking English, and then Afrikaan is the language there. And I think there's a little bit of French sprinkled in there as well.
Now, when speaking about professional services and the demand for professional services in some of these areas that we just talked about, the UK, Ireland, South Africa, etc. Now, here are some services that are trending as far as professional services. So, as an entrepreneur, guys, if you guys are thinking of doing business outside of the US in countries like the ones we just mentioned, the UK, Ireland, even some of the Caribbean nations. Here are some digital transformation consulting. What that is AI, cloud computing, cybersecurity, data analytics. Those are some of that digital transformation consulting. Now, market demand, many businesses in these regions, they're undergoing that type of demand, and they're looking forward to bolster their approach by having experts or other entrepreneur who have knowledge in those areas to help collaborate with them and help them to grow in that area. So that if you're in the IT space, cyber, data analytics, cloud computing, this would be a great place for you guys to kind of think about doing some business. This will be pretty good for you. Co-host, you want to talk about
Um,
the next opportunity?
okay, so you just did digital.
Yeah, I just did a digital transformation consulting
Okay. So the next one is management or
organizational.
organizational consulting.
Yeah.
There's a market demand for that. Consulting and organizational development, business strategy, leadership formation is highly sought after. Companies are looking for ways to streamline their operations, increase profitability, and adapt to changing environments. There's a growing demand for strategic planning, process optimization, change management services, and consultants can help organizations improve efficiency, culture, and innovation as a demand. Now, one of the things that does that in a lot of these other countries, they have what they call NGOs because there's a large population of underserved in a lot of these countries. And so, if you are a consultant that specializes in nonprofits, which is what an NGO is, and as well as planning, strategic planning, and leadership, and process optimization and stuff like that. This would be a great opportunity for you, and you could do both in person if you did that. And I have some friends that have traveled to other countries to do like cohorts, and then they fly back home. But you can also do an online type of platform. I've had a number of people that have come in from different countries. I think I've taught classes for Vermont Blossom, and I had someone from Ireland, had someone from Australia, I had someone for South Africa one time when I was teaching for the New Women's Business Center. So these people are looking for that opportunity because a lot of those opportunities are not available in their country, so they have to seek information, help, assistance outside of that country. So if you're a consultant, you develop some relationships, go on vacation, and then go visit some of their business equivalents to our Chamber of Commerce, and you probably could pick up some clients, meet some friends, and you can start that out on WhatsApp and introduce yourself to people
And the thing
in other
about it,
countries and kind of connect with them. Yeah.
yeah, the thing about it is also, if you're in professional services like me, my background is organizational development, and I know there are some of you entrepreneurs out there who do organizational management, which is very similar to organizational development. The difference is organizational development, it starts from the infancy stage and it takes you through the different life cycles of a business, from the developmental part of it, the implementation, the management of it, the processing, strategic planning, all of that. So that's the OD part of it. So that's why strategic planning and leadership development and all those process optimization, change management, those types of services are so critical in those areas. And like my co-host just said, there are NGOs over there. NGOs are non-government organizations. So government are nonprofit and they run a certain way. You've got other nonprofits too that function through grants and all those services. They're NGOs. So NGOs require these types of services to run them more effective and efficiently. So uh, I've had clients who start a lot of nonprofits and they don't really understand how the nonprofit space work in some of these nations, some of these African nations. So this could be a great opportunity for some of you guys if you're in this space, the professional services space, to provide services for them. They're going to need assistance with grant writing. They're going to need assistance with, overall management of their nonprofits, funding, fundraising, overseeing and planning of their organization, leadership training, all of that type of stuff. So this, they're great opportunities, and you don't necessarily have to fly all the way over there to do business with some of these folks. You can do it online, virtually. So just something to think about. Co-host, you want to talk about number 3?
Yeah, so regulatory compliance and risk management, there's a demand for that. Global regulations becoming more stringent. Companies in English speaking countries need consultants to help them navigate complex regulatory environments, including those for the GDPR, which is the General Data Protection Regulation, tax compliance, financial reporting, anti money laundering. And because we are operating in a very global world today, what affects us affects them as well.
That's
So,
right.
and even in the accounting world, we operate from the general accounting practices, but they're looking at changing that to the international accounting practices so that there be continuity in any country that does business with the U.S. So it'd be unique. It would be similar. It would be continuity across the board. Opportunity legal and compliance consultants who specialize in areas like data protection, financial service regulations, and corporate governance have a strong market in sectors like finance, health care, and technology. So those are some things that you can look if you're in those spaces. There could be definitely are opportunities there for you to do that.
Now we've had a guest on our show about 2 or 3 weeks ago. She is big on human resources. As a matter of fact, she's written a lot of books on human resources. She teaches that, and she's got what she calls HR in a box. She has
Mm-hmm.
a business like that. Now, those are skills that they're being sought over there in the South African nation, Europe, and also the UK and even in the Caribbean. Uh, so this is something, entrepreneurs, that you may want to think about. Like I say, you need to spread your wings. Look at, this is 2024, 2025 is coming up. We got to start looking at doing business differently. You don't want to keep doing business the same old way. So providing HR services, and of course, the US has a very high compliance level when it comes to HR services. So HR services, talent management, consulting, those are some of the things that they're looking for in Ireland, in the UK, South Africa, the Caribbean, and some of these nations, even Germany. So these are things you want to look at. Now, some of the market demands is showing that a big rise in remote hybrid working models. So HR would be considered a hybrid working model because you don't necessarily have to be there. You can develop the program for them. You do virtual and you check in on a daily or weekly basis. Make sure they're sticking to your plan and your program, and just provide oversight. You do reporting, and then you develop milestones and those types of things. So these are really good trades to tap into, and I just want to put this out there to many of my clients who go through our coaching problem, my co-host and I coaching problem. You guys may want to think about doing business in these areas as well. So it helps to adapt to new way of managing talent, enhancing employees' experience, developing agile system. And agile means you're flexible. Like my co-host and I, we're very agile because there are times when we have guests scheduled on this show, they don't show up. Last minute we find out, and because we're so agile, we're able to jump into one of our programs that we already have established and prepared, so it makes a smooth transition. So that's the kind of thing companies are looking for from you as an entrepreneur. Be agile, be ready, be flexible, and be able to do something, take on some tasks when they least expect you to be ready. And that's why we teach here readiness, business readiness, contract readiness, loan readiness, and even nonprofit readiness on this program. So you guys want to do that. And then diversity, equity, and inclusion is another aspect that is really growing in these regions, and they want many of you consultants to teach them how to do that. How do you do that in America and be successful? If you can bring that over there, that's an amazing thing.
Exactly. Sustainability. Everyone is very concerned about the environment, um, social and governance. Consulting is important. So we're all worried about climate control. There is a issue, and it's not just affecting us here in the United States. So if that's your area of expertise, there's a market demand for you. Climate change has become increasing concern. Businesses across industries are focusing on their sustainable practices. And in the United States, I think we've been really, we're kind of setters in this area. We have been, especially in the state of California. The state of California is the governance of compliance and sustainability and clean air and all the environmental concerns. So if you're in the state of California and that's your industry, there's some major opportunities for you, because pretty much you probably have some very futuristic skill sets that other countries are not there yet. They're just not
Right,
embracing that
right,
climate change is a problem. Um, so you can help them, coach them, and help them. Many of these companies are seeking help in reducing their carbon footprint, enhancing social impact, meeting regulatory ESG requirements, and ESG requirements are environment, social, and governance. Making sure the opportunities There's a growing demand for sustainability consultants, especially in sectors like manufacturing, energy, retail, and financial services, as companies seek to meet ESG reporting standards and incorporate sustainable practices into their business model. So, again, like I said, we actually excel in those spaces because we've been working on that for a very long time. I believe when I first started my business and my practice in the late 90s, we were already working on that. And, we had a really horrendous smog problem. But you look out your window in the state in Los Angeles, and we can see mountains every day. So they've
That's true.
cleaned up. We actually do spend more on gas out here because of the additives that we have to reduce the carbon exhaust fumes. And you don't know that until you go to a country like Egypt and Cairo, and you're like, "Whoa, what is that?" Right? And so, "Whoa, wait, what? I have never smelled gas. What the hell?" So you don't understand what you have until you go somewhere else and they don't have it. So
Yes.
that's that.
So the next item on our list here is financial and business consulting. Again, like I say, you're talking about financial and business consulting. That's us right here. That's me and my co-host. I do the
Mm-hmm.
business consulting. She does the financial consulting. So put this nice little package together, and you can shop it to many of these nations, many of the businesses in these nations, and the just the fact that you can provide financial advisory services to many of these businesses, so they can see how many of us conduct business in adherence to, like, the gap principle,
Mm-hmm.
general accepted accounting principles. That really shows, because when you're conducting these types of services, guys, you want to show folks that, hey, you're managing these books, but at the same time you got to prepare yourself to be audited. Always be ready to be accountable to either the court system, government, or IRS. It's
Mm-hmm.
somebody is going to be monitoring you. In some of these countries, they have their tax organizations that oversee companies and corporations there, so that would be good. The business strategy consulting, that's another part that will help, especially in times of economic uncertainty. We just went through something like that in 2020 with the pandemic, where, there was economic uncertainty. People didn't know where they're going to go, how they're going to feed their family, run the business, sustain the business. But because of our skills and expertise, we're able to guide many businesses to be prepared and become ready, so they can obtain loans from the SBA. They can obtain funding that will help guide their business along and put them in a position where they can be audited, and they don't have to be nervous about it. So these are services that consultants like yourselves, guys out there, you can provide to many of these nations. Again, the UK, Ireland, Caribbean nations, Jamaica, Bermuda, Barbados, even the Grand Cayman, Trinidad, Tobago's, you name it. They're out there looking for experts in these areas, and that's what you guys do. Many of you guys have got a master's degree in these areas, which prepares you to be able to um, uh, provide your services as an expert in this area. So think about that. Risk management, that's something that you'll be able to provide, especially if you have an MBA, or you've done some compliance work in terms of business development management and business life cycle. Those are things that you need to be able to deliver to many of these nations and establish great partnership and networks. Build your revenues, guys. So improving financial health, that's what my co-host does. Like I say, I've said this in the past before. She can take your financial statement, take a glance at it, and she can tell you a story about your business. She can tell you about your spending habits.
Yeah, I can. I can tell you exactly what you're doing, what you're not doing. So, yeah, and that's very important for running a business. You have
Oh
to,
yeah.
your financial structure
So
is the most important part of the business
yeah.
because everything leads into being able to making of the money and tracking. and monitoring the money. The next one is the healthcare consulting. So this is huge. So number of people in the healthcare industry are prime for expanding their expertise in healthcare, but also in the operational side of it. So the digital health, the patient experience. One of the things that regulatory compliance is. One of the things that happened during the pandemic, telemedicine became extremely popular, and so and we kind of mastered that at that point. So even now you have multiple opportunities how you can see your doctor. So in some countries, if you were going to take this to some of the African countries that and Indian countries that don't have resources and opportunities for healthcare, especially in the outland urban areas, or these are very this is a great opportunity for you. So digital health solutions and telemedicine continues to grow. So if you go into some of the interior African countries where healthcare is really at the limited availability, this is great. And that has always been the case for the interior part of Africa. And in some of the other places, Australia, especially in the outback. So places where it takes an individual a long time to get to where they are. And it's interesting. I watch a lot of Korean dramas, and when someone is diagnosed with cancer, the very first thing they do is they call America because
Mm.
they got the Mayo Clinic, they got the John Hopkins
Yeah.
Clinic, they have City of
Got
Hope.
USC,
You have a lot
UCLA.
of teaching hospitals here, but although I understand that the top medical care is the Netherlands, the UK, where they have universal health care for their citizens. So we don't have that. We are always fighting about our care, and it's always on the tip of being destroyed. So I wouldn't say that, but I would say actual care. And if you have skill sets in um, women's care, maternity care, that would be awesome as well because a lot of those countries don't have, they have a lot of birth mortality, both for the child and the mother. And so, as well as here in the United States for Black women, but in those countries, that's some opportunities for you.
Yeah, I think the technical, technology driven medical facilities are on the rise right now. You know, a lot of facilities they're digitizing and technologizing their systems.
That's a
let's
mouthful, huh? That's
let's
a
say
tongue
that
twister.
let's say that 5 times. So those are some of the ways in which organizations like those, the medical organizations, are really trying to stay on top of things. You know, they call it healthcare IT, process optimization. And that's how they're able to put data in a system and get some results right within seconds. So
Hmm.
that's the kind of thing that we're looking at. Mergers and acquisitions is another big thing, guy. If you're doing professional services, when you're stepping into organizations that they're ready to sell, or they're thinking of selling, or they don't know if they want to sell, and you have these skills in mergers and acquisitions, and you know how to establish and set up exit strategies. This makes it so easier for you guys. You get in there and you look at their financial, look at the operation, look at their customer demand, the client list, and all of that. You can put things together, put a system together, a plan, and make recommendations to them. Well, based on this, we're thinking uh, presenting the business this way in terms of mergers and acquisition might be a good opportunity for you, or business may just need restructuring, in order to re-enter a market or tap into a different market. Like we're talking now about you entering a foreign marketplace.
Hmm.
Those are things that you may want to do in order to see how your skill level and your expertise can help many of those businesses over there. Because sometimes businesses don't know they're at a point that they can sell. They're just doing business. This might be 25, 30 years since they've been in business. Some of the owners, the key players are burning out, and
Mm-hmm.
they just doing this job like, okay, I gotta go to work today. you know, and they not realize, hey man, it's probably time to sell this thing, man. Move on to something else.
Right, and have a strategy, but a lot of them don't. We know that a lot of them don't have exit strategies. But yeah,
Right.
that's kind of what you're looking at, exit strategies. Um, the next one is cyber and data privacy consulting. So the internet is absolutely wonderful, but oh my God, is it dangerous if it ain't protected? And so if this is your specialty, um, there's
Yeah.
definitely a demand because cyber attacks are just rampant everywhere in
Oh
every
yeah.
country actually because we're all kind of operating on the same platform, and there are certain uh, countries that really specialize in cyber attacks. So the United States is having numerous of cyber attacks across the country, and so I mean across the world, across the country. So they're looking for businesses that the businesses are looking for help in securing their network, protecting their sensitive data, and ensuring compliance with the global data protection law. So those are some things. So
It's amazing you mentioned that, co-host, because I really want to stress this. And if there's any entrepreneurs out there in the cybersecurity space, so you're a cybersecurity consultant, data privacy expert, or any of those types of professional services, I really want you guys to listen to what we have to say right now because we've been in the belly of the beast of this. And I want to share my experience with you guys. Maybe you can develop a system that can make things a little better for other companies like B2B or for a larger organization. Okay. So here's the deal, guys. Over the last year or so, I've received multiple correspondence, multiple letters in the mail from organizations like US Bank, from AT&T, and now I got Ticketmaster, and I got Inland Physicians Billing Services. All of these organizations, the one thing they have in common, they've been infiltrated, they've been compromised, their data have been compromised. So what they're telling me in their letter is that, hey, your data and your personal information may have been stolen by
mm,
infiltrators in our system. I'm going, that's not what I want to hear. And they're saying, well, now I'd like you to go to your credit bureaus and check to see if this has impacted your credit. I don't want to hear that. You guys are supposed to protect my data. I don't care what you guys do. You're supposed to, because what they're doing is by sending these little bogus letters is relieving themselves of responsibility. You see what I'm saying? So
yes,
now the criminals out there have my data, my social, my tax ID, my information, my home address, my business address, my client information, and then now they're going to share that with their other criminals on the dark web.
exactly.
So you being in cybersecurity, guys, and data privacy consulting is a good place to be because this is one of those demand occupations now that you really want to check out. And if you can come up with some solutions, from a global standpoint, this would be great.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So that's a good thing. So if that's your area of expertise, then there's definitely some opportunities for you. Then the legal and contractual consultant, I mean, the consulting that is always a demand, but the complexities of international trade, business operations, and technology contracts, there's definitely a demand for legal services. And you actually need that as well if you're going to be
Oh yeah.
looking to do business in other states. You definitely want to know all the legal ramifications of that, pros and cons, and you also want to know that from your tax status. What is your obligations, taxes abroad, and your tax status here. in the United States. So you would want to have a CPA that specializes in international businesses to be able to provide you with that information. But if you're a consultant, they're looking for a contract negotiation, intellectual property management, and advice on business law. And I saw another video, which if we continued on this series, on what here we can be. We've been a little lackadaisical with our intellectual property, but if you go to another country, they know you can't be lackadaisical on your intellectual property. You got to lock it
Exactly.
down because you're in other countries. And so they'll take it and transport it into another language, and this is your moneymaker, and that's what may happen. So those are the things that's important. Opportunities, international contract law, international business law, and international intellectual property. So if any of you went to school for international business law and you never knew what to do with it,
Now
there are
you
some
can put it to good use.
now you can put it to good use.
Yeah.
And so because they're looking for it in particular technology and media and entertainment. So a lot of the entertainers are um, doing business in other countries. So you truly need to know that they do performances all over the world nowadays. And then your information, your music is actually on the internet, on Spotify and places like that. That is all over the world. SoundCloud. So it's accessible by everyone, and YouTube is worldwide as well. So just some things. So we got one more, and then I just want, before we close out, I just want to do the pros and the cons real quick.
Yeah.
Of what that is. So you want to do the technical?
No, just go ahead and do the pros and the cons because I think that's good.
Okay. So pros and cons of expanding your business. There are obviously tremendous opportunities for growth that comes with some unique challenges. Here's the main pros and cons for international expansion. One, you get access to new markets. You get to increase your revenue potential, open up new customer bases, drive revenue growth, and reduce reliance on domestic sales. And you have a greater market reach by entering into diverse markets allows your brand to gain visibility and recognition around the world. Two, diversification of your business risk. Diversification is always good. So you have market diversification, which allows you to operate in multiple markets, in economic and political instability in one area could be less likely to affect your overall business. So diverse geographically can help stabilize revenue streams, access to talent and innovation. So you got a whole big, huge, expanded talent pool, and then you have exposures to new ideas and technology because you're working with other people and different new business practices and trends and things like that. Potential cost advantage, you get sometimes lower production costs because in some of these regions it costs you less to, if you're doing a product, to produce. Labor is less than it is in your home country. Tax benefits, there are a lot of incentives for you to do business in foreign countries, which may reduce overall tax liability and improve your financial performance. And then the fifth one in the cons is strengthen brand image, increase your brand value, enhance your brand reputation in a global platform, and it really helps set you up to be a major player in the
Very
game.
good. Very good. And I'm thinking, guys, the information that we provided here today is really, really valuable. Now, some of you may have missed some of the key components because you may have joined us a little late, or you may have been distracted while we're delivering this information. You can go to YouTube. This video will be there. And all you got to do is download the video, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe to our channel, and then just download this video, and you can take it back to your office, review it with your team, and take some notes, document what we've talked about here today. This will be really, really helpful for you running your business and trying to do business in a foreign country. trying to expand your revenue base.
Right, exactly. So the cons, complex regulatory environment. Know that this is not an easy slam in and you're there. You do have to do your research. There are a lot of legal and compliance challenges. Every country has very unique laws and regulations, taxation, labor. So you want to know what that is. Intellectual property risk, we just talked about that. So protecting that. Cultural and language barriers. If you're not multilingual, you may have a challenge being able to communicate with the local people and misunderstanding and so forth. So if you're going to do that, I would suggest if it's not an English speaking country or English is not a secondary language for them, I would suggest that you learn how to speak the language at least enough to communicate and to get started. And then when you get there, you can grow it by practicing this new language. So you can go to any of the online apps that can teach you the lingo, and there's a couple others out there that can teach you how to speak that language.
And make
Higher
sure you
upper,
understand the colloquial languages that's spoken in many of these countries, like Jamaica, for example, guys. And you go there, it's very common for someone to say to you, Wagwan. You got to know what that means. You know, Wagwan means, hey, hello, how you doing? What's up? You know, so we say Wagwan. You should know what that means. So,
um, higher operation costs. Some cases, international operation typically requires investment in new facilities, local employees, logistical infrastructure. So you have to have some money when if you're going to have a brick and mortar. You have to look at that. The exchange rate fluctuations that happens. There's a volatility in foreign currency can impact your margins. So you really have to stay on top of your financials and the conversion of that. And the risk of political and economic instability. Again, these are countries. Some countries have substantial instability, political risk. There's trade restrictions, tariffs, shifts in local government policies, and the country that you come from may create some dramas in the tariff. So those things you have to look at when you're making this move. Supply chain and logistic challenges. Of course, you're trying to get things from one country to another. So there may be incorporating some high transportation costs, shipping costs, things like that. And then you may have a difficulty establishing a brand loyalty. There may be a competitive landscape for you where there are already established businesses. So you really got to come in with something unique, something that doesn't exist
right.
in that country, something that solves a problem in that problem, and you can mitigate some of that. And then your customer trust and perception because you're a foreigner, and so you got to be able to build those relationships. So those are just some of the pros and the cons. International expansion does present a lot of growth opportunities for you, new revenue, but you do have to do your homework. You just can't jump out there and say, I'm going to do that. And it's interesting, Gilbert, as we come close, a, a, a I just got a blast that the election sparked massive surge in Google searches for how to leave the U.S. American users search for migration and relocation has increased by 1,500% since Tuesday.
Say that again, co-host. Say it again.
So, since the election on Tuesday, U.S. citizens are looking to leave the U.S. They've been searching for migration and relocation opportunities, and which has increased by 1,514% since Tuesday. People are wanting to get the heck out of here. Um, since that has happened. So, and many are focused on finding the easiest countries to move to. These countries include Costa Rica, Norway, Ireland, and the United Kingdom, seeing surges of up to 437%. English speaking countries, especially Canada, New Zealand, Australia, have garnered the most interest as potential destinations. Europe countries such as Ireland, Germany, Portugal, Spain are highly popular with the German opportunity card drawing notable interest. So Germany has, you're welcome, Candace. Germany has actually put on the table a German passport.
See, we're way ahead of this game because we didn't even know that when we put this program together today. You see, and
Well, we were
there's
just talking about it, but that makes sense.
yes.
Yes, Candace, update your
Candace,
passport. Mine is
Candace says
good.
she's updating her passport.
Get your TSA check,
TSA
pre-check,
check.
or at this point, you want to get your global entry. Yeah, your global entry. Americans with a vision to start fresh could look more into European destinations such as Portugal, because it's affordable, have a warm climate, and attractive. So many. Trump's return to office has driven a newfound urgency to explore immigration opportunities. So while he's gonna be deporting immigrants from the country, there are country folks that's going, I'm going to deport myself.
Self-deportation.
Self-deportation. I'm just going to move me out. So eventually, the United States will be empty.
You know, guys, I mean, we're laughing about this right now, but you guys, you really want to, make sure you go to YouTube, right? You can go now or you can go after the show. Download this link. Make sure you subscribe and you like this video, and you can have this link within your arsenal so you can take a look at it, review what we talked about here today, because we provide you guys with some amazing nuggets here that you guys can really use, and you can chop it up in bite size if you want. Candice says, do they offer dual citizenship? Maybe.
Let me see, just to close out our show, who offers dual citizenship? I do know Ghana, for those of us that are African descent, they will offer you dual citizenship. So
Jamaica does.
Yeah, Jamaica does. Okay. So here's so the benefits of it is global mobility and resident, and I don't know, let me see if it's gonna tell me if there's any the process of obtaining it is essential to look into the laws. First is birth, and then naturalization and marriage. So you have all of those. You're married though. Investment. So moreover, many companies now offer citizenship or residency by investment programs to help high net individuals. So citizenship by investment is acquiring second citizenship by investing in the host country's economics. Residency by investment programs offer permanent residency after the investment, which again speeds up the citizenship. So that is a way to do that. Countries that allow dual citizenship is Albania, Syria. Those would not be the countries you want to go to. Poland, you don't want to go there either. Maybe Luxembourg, Grenada, Costa Rica, Australia, Tonga, Saint Lucia. That could be a nice one. Tuasina, you don't want to go there either. Somalia, let's see, Iceland, yeah. Dominican, Bulgaria, no. None of those cold countries you want to go to. South Africa, you might want to go to. Brazil, no. Venezuela, definitely no. They got the same problem we running from. South Africa is cool. Nigeria, maybe. No Pakistan. South Korea, maybe. That could be a good one. They're pretty good. Jordan, no. Kenya, maybe.
Oh,
Canada, Zimbabwe, Switzerland, depending on your ethnicity, because you might stick out if you're us. The British Virgin Islands, Taiwan, but I don't know. Taiwan might be under attack now that the authoritarians are getting into place. And there you go. And then, of course, Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, and where else would you want to go? Yeah, that Spain, maybe, if you're into France, maybe. Benin, that's Africa. I said, "You leaving that?" St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and there's some others out there. So those are some choices for you. And if you have money, you can actually invest in those countries. Egypt is really easy to get into. $25 for a visa, and then you just go back to the airport and review it, and renew it in 6 months. So there you go.
Panama is also an easy country to get into too.
Okay, so
So
Panama. So
yeah,
you just
and they use the U.S. currency over there.
Oh, that works, and your money works. In Egypt, your money is actually the currency right now is what was
4 to 1 or 5 to 1.
no, it's bigger than that. It's 38. It's 38% to one.
38 to 1.
Yeah,
Wow.
$38. No, it's not. It's $49 to
To
every.
$1.
Yeah, so your $1 can carry you really far, although it's gotten expensive there because they had to compensate on their side. But
Yeah.
$6,000 in Egypt let me give you guys a little conversion. So if you're really thinking and getting the mind together, so let's see, 6,000. Let me turn that because I use this a lot. So U.S. dollar, $6,000 in Egypt is 295,649
Dang.
pounds. I think you could live there for a little bit. You probably could do about 2-3 years on that
Yeah,
295.
$6,000. You're rich.
Yeah, right, exactly. So get you a conversion. Get you a conversion so you'll know how much stuff costs. And then you can see where your American dollar goes and how far it will take you
You,
on a nice little nest egg of 6 grand.
Speaking of conversion rates, that really is solid. The Philippines also is a good conversion place to go. You can pay like rent for like $400 to $600 a month, and you get a nice 2 bedrooms with that. And
Yeah, see, there you
some
go.
yeah,
All you need in another country, and I have done this, and for us that are consultants, is a good internet connection. That's all you need.
yeah,
Good
yeah.
internet connection. You take your own webcam, and I did
You can do
shows, and
business anywhere.
I've done workshops in other countries. So it can happen. Just got to have a good connection, internet connection. So, and
Well,
you don't
folks,
want any blackouts.
you heard my co-host, guys. Do not hesitate. Go to our YouTube channel and make sure you like and subscribe to this show and the channel. And make sure you download this link. Download it, and you can play it back as many times as you want. And go over some of the recommendations we gave you as countries that you may want to do business that will be profitable for you.
Right. So we got to have a strategy. We just can't sit back here and wait for that time to come and think it's going to pass without a turbulence for you. It's going to be turbulent. So have a backup plan. If it gets too bad, you just can't take it, then you can just leave this camp and come back later.
Oh my Lord.
So,
This is one of the funnest shows I've been on.
You gotta have a backup plan. You gotta have an A, B, C, D, E, F, G plan in order to survive the next 4 years.
You gotta make sure you get up to G.
You may have to do a G. I don't know. It's rocky, man. It's instability. We now are the country that's gonna have political instability.
we're the ones that's gonna have to start going over people's borders and trying to get into their country.
With your laundry basket bag, carrying it across the border. It's gonna be us even in our self deportation.
This is hilarious.
Okay, guys, a little comic relief for the drama that we have to suffer right now. But
we want to thank Candace Simmons for joining us today. We want to thank our street correspondent, Mr. Greg Sneed, man, for checking in and giving his 2 cents.
Right, exactly.
And everyone else who's been listening to the show. This is some amazing information, guys, that we disseminated here today. Go to our channel on YouTube, download the link, and you guys can review this link over and over. Share it with other small businesses. Share it with your family members. But we're on every Friday from 3 to 4:30. This is the Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert. And if you want to be a guest on this show, I'll put my email in the chat, and you can reach out to us, and you can get you can self-appoint yourself.
Self-appoint yourself as a guest.
As a
Yeah,
guest.
you can self-appoint, but no, you can go into our information is in on how to sign up to be a guest is on our YouTube channel, and so
Yes.
you can go there and you can sign up, or you can reach out to me on the contact page, and we also will send it directly to you. So
So
hope we will connect you. I hope you guys enjoyed this show today. Food for thought in this process when as we are processing what is the trauma that we have incurred as of Tuesday. Now, someone said last week they were going to give everyone to Monday in order to wallow in their have their
grief.
pity party, their grief. And then after that, everybody needs to be getting up and starting to decide what the heck they're going to do. You're going to fight. There is going to be a resistance. But what does that look like for you? But in the meantime, be looking at some other opportunities that can make sure you're not going to lose revenue, that you're actually going to be able to expand your business in other areas so that you can continue to make money. Because one thing I do know you need during this 4 years is money.
That's right.
You got to have money to be able to get up and get out if you have to. So we're going to be doing some hard work just to make sure we can fill up our coffers. We probably should have been working on that all along just in case. But we just have to do what we have to do. So we're going to sign off. We're going to thank you guys for joining us today. And we will see you back next Friday. I don't think we have a guest, but maybe we'll find one in between now and then. If not, we'll come back with another topic on how to survive 4 years of the king man that's trying to come in that's going to uproot make us a political unstable country. So we'll find something new to hopefully laugh about. So we'll see you guys.
Okay, guys, we'll see you next week. You take care, peace, and we'll see you soon.
As a small biz pro, I saw we roll, using procurement, program, and control. As a small biz pro, I saw we grow, using procurement, program, and control.